Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Entertainment Now podcast. My name is Nick,
I'm Ian.
and I will say that if you're watching this on YouTube, because we have all these up on our YouTube channel, make sure you give us the old thumbs up and hit the subscribe button, all that YouTube jazz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then where the show's podcast is available on all the different podcatchers, I guess is what the correct term is for them, but we're on Spotify and Apple and all the other places you get your podcasts. But make sure if you want, you can leave the show reviews on whatever platform you use. Always helps the channel out. But today we're talking about something that I've been a big fan of for a really long time, and that's Marvel.
The MCU to be exact.
Well, yeah, but even like before the MCU was a thing, like growing up, I was always a Marvel fan,
Mm-hmm.
especially like I guess I was a fan of both, but as far as like DC stuff went, I was like Batman and Superman. That was kind of it.
Right.
A lot
I was a
of the
DC
like
guy, but that was kind of my thing too. Just Batman and Superman, and
yeah
then the other characters were just kind of peripheral.
yeah.
Now is not a good time to be a DC fan. I would point out.
No. But as far as like Marvel stuff, I got more into like some of the deeper Marvel characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I was probably more of an X-Men fan than a
Right.
lot of other stuff, but
It was the '90s though, so I mean,
yeah.
the X-Men were like the comics were huge in the '90s.
And they had the cartoons and all that stuff too. So
Yep.
they were kind of everywhere. And then of course was the 2008 was the first MCU movie. Was it
Yeah, Iron Man came out in
yeah,
2008.
2008. That's what I thought it was.
I don't
So
think it was quite the MCU yet. I think it was
it was
like a
definitely planned
test.
that way.
It was planned to be, but it was still in the testing stages. Because let's face it, if Iron Man hadn't worked, we wouldn't be where we are today.
No, because
Just
when Iron Man came out, that was like the you know couple of decades long running joke is that superhero movies were terrible and they
or
bombed for the most
they,
part,
they were
unless you were the Michael Keaton Batman movies or the Christopher Reeves Superman
Superman
movies.
and the Christian Bale Batman, which because at 2008 they'd already had where that was Batman Begins to come out, and that was pretty successful.
Yeah, yeah.
And you had the X-Men in 2002.
Yeah, but like
99, whenever
there was a
the first one came out.
long string of really, really bad.
Oh yeah, there were way more bad than there were good at the
Yes,
time.
and even some of the ones that were like people think were bad, like in hindsight, really aren't that bad of movies.
Yeah, I don't know. I give what would be an example of that.
The Fantastic Four movies.
The first one's watchable.
The first
Second
one,
one's a little rough.
yeah, but like all of them, are pretty widely panned. But yeah, the first one I thought was a really good movie.
Yeah.
Green Lantern wasn't that bad. The
No,
movie,
I don't think it deserves the shit it gets, but
no,
it's not a great movie, but it's a watchable. I would put it as good as the worst MCU anyway.
Yeah, I would say that. The first Punisher movie was pretty bad, but
Well, that's pre MCU. I'm talking
of
like,
course, yes, yeah.
if you
No.
whatever,
I was still talking about like bad
comic book,
superhero movies.
And to be fair, that movie was just way ahead of its time.
I think the casting was terrible on it also, but
Yeah, I mean, Dolph Lundgren is many things, but a great actor is not.
He is not. But
he's all right to watch on screen. He pulls off certain characters all right, but
yeah,
carrying a movie,
yeah.
I thought they should have learned their lesson with Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, which I don't know. That
it's hard to blame him for that.
No. So we've got this. Was it MCU is up to what 27 movies now?
Oh, I don't even know what the count is.
I think it's 26, 27. We're close. We're by the end of this year, we'll be at like 30 movies.
Okay.
But over the stretch of time, at least my question is, has the MCU kind of run its course? Is it time to kind of move on to something else?
Um, yes and no. No, in the sense that they have a plan. They have whether or not it's going to work, who's to say?
Yeah.
But it's also yes in the sense that nothing like this has ever happened before. There's movie series like, say, for instance, James Bond, that have 20 plus films in their series,
Yeah.
but that's it. Really isn't anything else that comes even close.
And those Bond movies
It's a different
they're
animal.
it's yeah, and that's because they're connected, but they're also
Not
very
connected.
separate.
Yeah, exactly.
Each version of James Bond is very different than the other one.
And one would argue that even within particular Bonds, say for example, Roger Moore's Bond, there's not a lot of connective tissue other than characters
yeah,
between the films. There's no through storyline, and when there is, it's very minor. It's
yeah,
Jaws,
yeah,
in two films. That's really about it
yeah.
until you get to the Daniel Craig, or arguably maybe the Pierce Brosnan, but definitely the Daniel Craig.
There's
First,
never been like, as far as
serial.
like James Bond goes. I mean, I can go off on a whole hour-long conversation about
Right,
James
right.
Bond, but James Bond, at least with the Daniel Craig movies, they're very different than anything that they've done before because all of the
Very true.
Daniel Craig movies are one movie.
More or
Like,
less, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes and yes, it is all just one story. Where you never had that with any of the other James Bond characters.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen the last. Have you seen the last
Well, I've
Bond
seen them
movie?
all. Yeah, I've seen them all.
Yeah. So it is very much one long story.
One long
Uh,
story. I wouldn't call it one long movie, but one
well, I
one
mean,
overarching story.
they're like every single movie connects into the next one, and you never really had that with any of the other James Bond
Well, there's not so much
characters.
of there's Quantum of Solace does not connect directly to Skyfall, other than the through storyline. It's not like with Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace where they literally minutes apart.
Yes, yeah,
And with Skyfall and Spectre, it's not minutes, but and even Spectre to No Time to Die.
yeah.
But Quantum of Solace to Skyfall, there's a cut
There,
there. There's a bit
there
of a
is, but
gap.
it's still all one long story.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Is like they haven't done that with any other James Bond,
No, 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 no.
uh,
Yeah.
you know, whatever you want to call it, series. But yeah,
Incarnation.
incarnation.
Yeah.
So, but comparing that to the MCU is something that
It's
I
never been
don't.
done.
It's never been done before
Never,
because
ever.
every single movie is interconnected, and there is stuff in movies 15 years later that are
Paying off.
that are something that was started you know 6 7 8 10 12 15 movies before, mentioned one little time, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh well, that's what this is.
Right.
It's like it's so intertwined.
Mhm.
It's
It's a
it's almost
testament to good planning that it
exactly.
is.
And that's kind of where I was going. Is there's never been this like such a long term plan for a movie series before,
Right. And it's
and
had a
it
few, dips in the road, but nothing I would even argue to the point of being a failure. Nothing. Even
no,
some of their shows, because the shows that are no one really seems to like aren't really necessary. I like Agents of Shield, but it's unnecessary to the
yeah,
overall plot. Other than the minor connections between Civil War and that.
yeah. The
Yeah,
Well, that's not really true because the Inhumans, which was a
spinoff of
really bad TV series,
right,
like
right. But that's what I'm saying. But it's unnecessary. I never even watched it. I mean, I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
but it ties into the Eternals.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
I
Have you seen the
I've
Eternals?
seen the Eternals,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's one of,
It
in my
ties
opinion, it's one of the
into
weaker of the films, but I
um
still enjoyed it.
Yeah, and Inhumans also tied into which one?
Doctor
Oh, Doctor
Strange.
Strange.
Yeah, the second one. Just with that one character, the
Yeah, I remember the
Anson
guy's
Mount's,
name.
yeah,
Yeah,
Anson Mount's character.
yeah.
Uh, I,
So there is some
again, though, I don't feel
crossover there.
like there is, but I don't. And there was crossover with Agents of Shield too, but it's not to the extent that it was
It's not
almost
it's not necessary.
it's not necessary to the overall
Yeah,
story. If you don't watch it, you're not missing anything.
yeah,
Uh, so going forward, I'm excited. There's a lot of things I'm excited for going forward. Maybe some that I'm even more excited than I was about previous stuff.
yeah,
Once I heard about it, I was like, oh, that's exciting. I want to see that. But stuff that I'm actually really looking forward to, specifically the new Daredevil show, I'm super excited about. I know they're kind of disregarding the Daredevil that came before, but it's the same
yeah.
actor. So there's the familiarity there. And I'm super excited about that. And I'd like to see where the new Captain America goes with
Which that comes out May of next year.
right.
Captain
So
America: New World Order.
New World Order, yeah. Secret Invasion, I'm super excited about. I mean,
I think a
there's a
lot. I
lot
think a
of
lot of
exciting stuff
things.
coming.
I think a lot of things with Phase 5 kind of rests on the back of the new Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
Because I will say that I did kind of think of this before seeing the preview for the new Ant-Man. The new Ant-Man movie looks fantastic.
It does. It looks
I'm
really,
hoping
really good.
it lives up to what I think it's going to be. I think Kang is the probably the correct way to go as far as like a big enemy
Right.
for the MCU.
More
But
so than say a Galactus.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Galactus
Look,
wasn't Galactus more X-Men anyway.
there's a lot
Which
of crossover there. There,
yeah, oh,
because
of
there. I mean,
course.
there always was with Marvel, but
Right. Well, same with DC.
yeah. But that was kind of the question after Endgame is like, where was Marvel going to go?
Right.
I think the whole pandemic really kind of shifted their plans um, because Phase 4 was so kind of chopped up between movies and they really kind of focused on the TV series stuff. Um, just because there was, I think, like I said, the pandemic just kind of threw their a monkey wrench into their plans. I think,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
no, I don't think it actually like canceled any films or TV
it
shows,
did, it
but it
did, but it
just kind of
rearranged stuff.
truncated stuff too.
Yeah,
They're filming everything. It was being filmed differently, and
yeah,
there's a lack of scope in a lot of stuff. Just not just MCU, but in general. You can almost tell a huge difference between pre-pandemic shows and post-pandemic shows
yeah,
in terms of like just overall background scope. You don't see as many people in the background as you would normally, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Everything seems smaller. And I know I've noticed that with the MCU shows too. Uh, but I think they came along right at the right amount, right time where you can't really, there's nothing to compare them to prior to necessarily. So there's a little bit, but not much.
Yeah.
So that helps. But I really noticed it with things like um well, Hawkeye seemed just, and then maybe that was by nature too. Hawkeye might be a bad example because I really liked Hawkeye, but
Yeah, I think this
everything just
Hawkeye was
seems
probably I think it was the
smaller.
best of the TV series.
I really enjoyed it. The only series I didn't like so far, and it's only because of the ending, is She-Hulk. I did not like the way they ended it.
Yeah, I
And I
didn't like
get
that
what they
either.
were I get what they were doing, but breaking the whole fourth wall is okay, for comedic moments within the series. But doing it as a plot point is
It
terrible
didn't.
idea.
Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't
Yeah.
work. Um, as far as the TV stuff goes, I liked all of them. I didn't watch Was it Moon
Oh
Knight?
yeah, I guess to be fair, I haven't watched that one yet either.
I haven't watched Moon Knight. I haven't watched Miss Marvel yet either.
I really liked Miss Marvel. I thought it was really
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I thought What If? I thought the What If series was really kind
Yeah,
of fantastic.
they
I think
were
it
all
was
right. They were fun
a
to
great way to
watch.
look at some different ways to do what they had done, especially like the
I
zombie episode and all that. But
What I like about What If is the animation style.
yeah,
That it's still 2D animation, but there's a separation in the way they use color and texture on the characters that I really like that style of animation.
yeah. Loki was another great a
Great
great
show.
series that they did.
And that season 2 is coming out soon,
Yeah.
I think, right?
That's what I was actually just going to look at and see
Because I think
the
it's the next TV show to come out.
let's see here. They've got several TV shows that are coming out though.
Right, but I think it's like the next one.
So like everything I pull up is all movies. I need the list of MCU TV shows. Um, oops. Yeah, because they're doing Ironheart is another TV show that they're
Oh, that's
doing.
another one I'm really looking forward to. I mean, like I said, most of everything coming out I'm super excited about. Ironheart, Daredevil. I'm curious to see what they do with the Punisher going forward because they've changed the character a bit in the comics and
Yeah.
it's a bit
So
controversial.
so this was the phase 4 one. WandaVision was good. Even though I
Yeah.
was like I had some questions about how they're gonna do it. It really worked. I thought
Hmm.
Falcon and Winter Soldier worked. Loki was fantastic. Hawkeye was fantastic. I really liked She-Hulk until that last
Until
episode.
the end. Yeah. Until the end. The way they wrapped that up was if it wasn't connected to everything else, I would have been like, "Oh, that's okay. That's cool." But the fact that it's connected to everything else, and now
Yeah.
it's just breaking that fourth wall just doesn't work for me.
So
Like you said, once in a
you got a
while,
lot
but
of stuff that's coming out in 2023. The next thing that comes out is season 2 of What If.
okay. I'm not.
And then
I
and
mean, I'm
then
not excited about it. I'll watch it, but I'm not excited about
Secret Invasion is also going to be early 2023.
it. Okay,
Season
that one I'm
2
sorry.
then it's season 2 of Loki, like mid-year, and then end of 2023 is going to be Ironheart and Echo.
Okay,
Echo is the
character
character
from
from
Hawkeye. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and she's going to be in the Thunderbolts.
Yeah. Late 2023 is also going to be Agatha Coven of Chaos also.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that one too. I really liked her character in WandaVision.
Yeah.
WandaVision was not my favorite, but it's not one that I dislike.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to just keep to go. It's not a rewatchable show for
Um
me.
yeah, probably not. I will
Whereas
say
I
that
can I can rewatch any of the other ones with the exception of She-Hulk, but for obvious reasons. But WandaVision is just because it's so literally in a bubble of itself.
yeah.
It's kind of difficult to rewatch, I think. I've really had
Out
no
of
interest to go back and watch that one.
out of all the Phase 5 TV shows, I think out of really all the TV shows they've done as part of like they're part of the
Phase 4.
MCU,
Well, all those were phase
even
4.
Phase yeah, that's what I'm saying though. Is
Oh,
like
okay.
even Phase 4 and Phase 5, uh the new Daredevil has by far the most episodes. There's gonna be 18 episodes in
Oh,
season
wow.
1. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's gonna be
Yeah,
like
I
a
think all the rest have been
full
10,
series.
10 seasons, 10 episodes, right?
Um, what if was 9? Secret Invasion is gonna be 6. Loki's gonna be
Wow.
6. The first season of Loki was 6 also. Falcon Winter Soldier was 6. So
Oh,
it looks like most of them were 6.
6, yeah. Those Well, I think with the exception of Loki, that was kind of meant to be the other ones were kind of meant to be one-offs anyway, weren't they?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, Falcon Winter Soldier is like the lead off into
To
the new Captain America movie.
Right, right.
And the
Mm.
WandaVision was a setup for the new
Well,
the
for her
new
character, Doctor
for Doctor
Strange.
Strange,
Yeah.
which I didn't like how they. I thought, I mean, I thought Doctor Strange was a good movie. I did
Yeah.
not like what they did with Wanda's character
I agree. I
in that.
don't, it's one thing for a character to go bad for a brief time
Yeah.
because it does add dimension. But I mean, and even though she redeemed herself, I guess she's dead. I don't know.
I
She's
don't know what they're
not.
doing with her.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I did not like. I don't like it when the good guy becomes the villain.
Yeah.
You
You know, now granted, she was like the bad guy first.
kind
You know,
of. Yeah.
she was,
Right.
she went, she was a bad guy, then she was a good guy, and then she went back to being a bad guy. But
Mhm.
like the whole reason behind it was like super cheap. And I know this is gonna sound fucking woke or whatever you want to call it, but like I thought it was very kind of sexist the way that
Mhm.
they portrayed her character in in Doctor Strange as like the uh
I don't think I disagree with you, but I'm kind of curious from like in what way.
the whole thing
Like,
like that she's like basically killing all these people to have children that she never had.
okay.
It was that whole like the wronged mother aspect
Right.
of the
Or
character.
an entire character being defined by the fact that she's a mother or wants to be a
Yes,
mother.
yes,
Okay.
yes. When
That's kind of how I saw it too,
yeah,
but I wasn't
when
sure if that's where
Wanda
you were going.
like Wanda was always like the most powerful or one of the most powerful characters in the
Right.
MCU.
And
And to
that's even pretty much in the forefront of Doctor Strange. I mean, that's what actually makes her a good villain, I guess, but
yeah,
because she is
it
too
just
she's
felt cheap.
overpowerful.
It felt like
It was a betrayal of her
you
character, I
you
think.
wouldn't they wouldn't do that same thing with a male
Male
character.
character. Right. No,
You
I
know,
agree. I agree with that.
it felt
Yeah,
like it was very like 1950s kind of mindset.
defining a woman based solely on motherhood.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. But we're men, so I don't know if we really have much of a say in that, but it's how
and
I
apparently
perceive it.
and apparently from what people say on YouTube on the the Vinyl Den, we're white men, so we're what's wrong with the world, right?
I don't know if we're what's wrong with the world, but it
That's kind of what the
you know
comment was
I
that
know,
we
but
got
what
on.
I would agree that in terms of having an opinion on uh how women are portrayed or how other classes are portrayed, you know we probably have less of a say, or our opinion has less value to some degree,
I
but
mean, I think we
doesn't
can
mean
still
we
have an
can't have an
opinion on it.
opinion. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we can still have an opinion, but I'm
And I would
acknowledging.
argue and say that like if anyone's gonna or white men can play a bigger role in enacting change
Well, only because
because
it's
we're the one that
crusty
fucking
old.
runs. We run
Right,
everything.
right. I was gonna say it's the crusty old white guys who are in charge of everything. So I guess they really are the
Exactly.
ones that can make the
So
difference.
yeah.
So,
But as far as go back to the MCU, I think it's going to be interesting how this next phase goes.
mhm.
Um, just because of the movies that are coming out, because you got Ant-Man and the Wasp, which comes out in February. Guardians 3, which is going to be the final Guardians movie.
Right, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah,
I think they need to kind of trim the characters down a bit
yeah.
because Endgame
It
got
feels
away with a
bloated.
lot. Yeah, Endgame got away with a lot because, and they had a lot. They had to, but
Yeah,
they did it right. They're not going to be able to really do that again. They're going to have to bring the Avenger group down a bit,
yeah.
which is what I think they're planning on doing with the new Avengers. But it's still, you can't have 30 characters in a movie and make it so that they all get the right amount of story.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're just background characters.
I think after those first two movies, though, after Ant-Man, after Guardians 3, they kind of fall into uncharted waters with the
Mhm.
MCU. And that's where I think that it can kind of, if they're not careful with it, can kind of go off the rails.
Right.
The Marvels is the next movie that comes out after Guardians 3.
Mhm.
And while I thought Captain Marvel was a really good movie, it was kind of panned. Like a lot of people fucking hated
Yeah.
that movie. So really kind of teaming her up with Miss Marvel, which Miss Marvel seemed like it was more liked than
I think
Captain
it got
Marvel
some
was.
positive
You
critiques
you're going
overall.
from you're taking that and making so you're making the Marvels with those two. Then you got this new Captain America. Then you got Thunderbolts and then Blade to end Phase
Yeah.
5.
Blade, I don't understand why Blade is even there.
And that's what I'm
I
saying though
mean,
is like after Ant-Man and the Wasp, after Guardians 3, you could see theoretically if it doesn't play out well, you could see like a steep decline in the MCU
right.
over just over fandom or your box office numbers. I think you could see a decline beginning of phase 6, regardless of what happens with the end of phase 5. Phase 6 starts with Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3 is going to do huge fucking numbers. You guarantee it.
Right.
I
That's
think
another one. I don't know why it needs to be part of the MCU. It can be
because they
it can be
bought
a
it.
Marvel. That doesn't mean anything. They could still make it and have it separate. That's how I kind of feel about the Blade movie.
Because Disney
Do the Blade
wants
movie.
Disney wants anything Marvel related to be part of the MCU
Yeah,
because of how
that's how you get
successful.
it's going to get overbloated again, and it
Possibly,
won't work
possibly.
again. And it won't work again because you can't. And I could be wrong because I don't read the Marvel comics, but I don't think Blade has ever been an Avenger.
No, I don't think he's going to be an Avenger.
Then why does he need to be there? Because they're these phases are leading up to Avenger movies.
Yeah,
So if he's not part of the Avengers, he doesn't need to be there. Same with
yeah.
Deadpool. You know,
But with
you can still
Phase
make the movies; they just aren't part of the MCU.
Yeah. Phase 6, though, all you have is, at least all that's been listed, as far as movie wise, is just Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four, which is going to be interesting to see what they do because the characters that have already portrayed Fantastic Four characters are not going to be in the Fantastic Four movie.
Right.
So I think it's kind of a bad way to go with that.
Well, it was really just Reed Richards, and that was John Krasinski,
Yeah.
right?
Which I thought
He was
was
fine.
like,
I mean,
I
he's
thought
been
that
a
was like the
that
jumping
was
point
yeah, and he's been a fan favorite pick for that character, him
for a
and
long
Emily
time.
Blunt forever.
Yeah. So I thought that was like a really easy jumping off point to introduce the Fantastic Four and kind of go that route. And then when you hear that they're, what sounds like not even in the running to play those characters in the movie, I thought was kind of dumb.
Right.
And then it's just those two. And then you go into Avengers, the King Dynasty, and then Secret Wars to
Right.
end phase 6.
Now is King Dynasty and Secret Wars kind of like Endgame and Infinity War, where
I think
they're
so.
technically one movie?
I think so.
Okay.
I was trying to see.
See, originally when they first announced Phase 6, X-Men was in there too. The
I
initial
think
at one of the
it's listed.
showcases.
It's listed as a future
Right.
series.
It was part of Phase 6 when it was originally posted.
Was it?
Yeah, because they had posters up with the Phase 5, Phase 6, and X-Men
Yeah.
was in Phase 6 with Fantastic
Uh,
Four. Actually, it was before Fantastic Four, if memory serves, or maybe it
um.
was after because Deadpool wasn't on that list then.
Yeah. The list I'm looking at now doesn't even have X-Men listed.
Right.
All it has for future movies is Armor Wars and then the Shang-Chi sequel.
Okay. That's another one I'd be excited to see because I really liked the first one.
I thought Shang-Chi was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
But
I really liked the first Guardians. The second Guardians, I wasn't so sold on. I mean, it was good. Same with
it
Doctor
was
Strange.
okay.
I
It was
loved the
okay.
first Doctor Strange. Didn't really like the second one as much.
The second one, the second Doctor Strange movie, I thought was really good, except for I did not like what they did with
Wanda.
Wanda.
Right. I agree.
Some of the backstory stuff with Guardians 2 was okay.
Yeah. It was still a good movie. I still
It
liked it.
was.
It just didn't, to me, it didn't live up to the quality of the first one. That's
Yeah.
all. You know. Which is, I mean, that happens all the time. It's not that big of a deal. You
Yeah.
know, if you have a sequel that's at least close to the same quality as the first one, you're doing good, you know.
So apparently the official stance on X-Men is they're going to introduce Deadpool and Wolverine in Deadpool 3. And then at some future point, X-Men, the rest of the X-Men will enter into the MCU. But there's not like a set part or set date for it anytime.
Well, I guess if they use the multiverse, because they're gonna have to either
That
explain
yeah,
why there hasn't been any X-Men,
yeah.
because X-Men have existed for, forever.
Well, it's not just X-Men, it's mutants.
Mutants, right? That's what I mean. The mutants. They'd have to explain where the mutants are, and the difference between the mutants and the Inhumans. Or they're going to have to do some kind of a multi-universe thing where they're brought into this universe from another, or
Yeah,
universes blend together. So you
yeah,
can have a back history that's kind of introduced, but arguably wasn't there before.
yeah.
You know,
There are mutants already in the MCU though.
are
Uh,
they called mutants though? Because up until recently, they weren't even allowed to use that word.
yeah, well, because they could because they didn't own the rights to it.
Right.
But Miss Marvel is a mutant. Um, I don't remember what his name is, but the guy,
Captain
the
Marvel is a mutant.
no, Miss Marvel,
She's not a mutant in this.
she is
And maybe in the comics, they
in the TV series. That's the way it's set up. The villain
I didn't pick that up.
in the new Black Panther movie is a mutant.
Namor,
Yeah, obviously Professor X. He's already in
right?
MCU.
Yeah, but that was an alternate universe.
Yes, yes,
That's why I didn't really look at that as an example.
yeah.
Um,
But like as far as like, yeah, there's only
I
a
thought
couple of them in the MCU.
I thought
But
Namor was more like a Thor character, like a mythical Atlantis
but
kind of thing.
he is a mutant of his people.
Oh,
So the way you haven't seen the movie, have you?
I have not seen Black Panther 2 yet.
So
No, Wakanda
his
Forever.
people, his ancestors were like regular, civilization, on land.
Okay,
And then I don't remember how, but they were threatened, and they ate a plant that would allow them to breathe underwater. But he was different from them. He was the first one that was born. He was the first and only person born after his mother converted to an aquatic
gotcha.
person.
So he was born naturally aquatic without the
Yes.
assistance of the.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. So he's very different. He's able to fly and do a lot of things that his people aren't able to do.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got wings on his ankles and some
Oh,
weird shit like that. But yeah.
interesting. I didn't think little little ankle wings could make you fly.
It's a fucking movie, Ian.
Still has to have some
Some basis in
real.
reality, Ian, really?
Well, I was gonna say some realistic explanation for why it occurs.
Yeah.
Superman can fly because of his body structure being able to defy gravity. I mean,
Yeah.
there's it. Yeah, it's not real, but there's a realistic explanation for that behavior, for that ability.
So yeah, they're slowly introducing mutants into the MCU. So
Right.
I think like to bring in X-Men, uh it's going to be through the multiverse.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to explain, this group of mutants
Right. That's
that aren't
not a
there.
small group. It's like,
No.
it's they're all over the world,
Yeah.
That's That's what makes it difficult. If it was just literally just that small group, it wouldn't be that hard. But
Yeah.
if you're introducing mutants in general, that's a whole world worth of
Yeah.
people. Was it
So
like
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to
1%?
see kind of moving forward through phase 5, phase 6 to see kind of what they do and if they're able to kind of keep that momentum that they've had over the years.
Right. So, to answer the big question, the topic itself, there's enough excitement. There's enough exciting things coming for me to say no. Marvel has not run its course, and like you said, there's going to be defining moments going forward within what we already know.
Yeah.
But I would say that we're approaching the moment where they should start consider winding it down,
Yeah.
in the sense that maybe phase 6 should be the last, if not phase 7 for sure,
Yeah.
where they should
I,
just wrap it up in a nice little bow. 40 movies, you got a whole series there.
yeah.
um Plenty of rewatchability on Disney Plus, keep people on there, and you're good to go.
Yeah. I think they're definitely at a crossroads
Hmm.
with the MCU. What happens through the last two Avenger movies? Because that's the other thing is like you said, they're building this whole new Avengers team. What is that team going to look like? And not having Iron Man, Captain America, those same characters, will they have the same box office draw?
Right.
Because that's what I was trying
Yeah,
to
it's
like.
hard to say.
You're gonna have Ironheart instead of Iron Man,
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
So you could have almost like this, uh, Avengers, the B team of Avengers. It could feel like, and if it suffers at a box office, maybe they kind of say, okay, let's just kind of the end of it.
Well, I think they should also probably temper their expectations. Is any Avengers movie going forward going to do um end game money? No.
No, no,
No. Um could it do Avengers 1 money? Sure.
yeah, that's all I was trying to
But
look and see what the so box office, worldwide box office for the first Avengers movie was 1.5 billion.
right. What was Endgame? It was like it was over 2, wasn't it? Or close to 2.
Let's see here. Infinity War was just over 2. Endgame was almost 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
2.7 billion.
Yeah, they're not even
They're
going to
never
hit.
going to get that. I mean,
No.
that's the
They
second
could
highest
they
grossing movie of all time.
Right. They could come close to Avengers 1 money, but that and even that I think might be a little lofty. But
Yeah.
they, like I said, they have to temper their expectations and maybe temper the budgets a little bit, which is fine. I think they could pull it off because I think some of those budgets are bloated anyway.
Yeah. So of the 8 movies that have come out since Endgame, none of them, other than the 2 Spider-Man movies, have done $1 billion.
Right. And I think
Several of
that should be their expectations going forward.
yeah. Shang-Chi only did 432,000. I'm sorry, 432 million. And then
That's a loss then, wouldn't it be? Because I mean, the budget had to be at least 150, 200 million.
yeah, yeah. So it
That's
probably was.
doesn't count advertising and everything else.
Eternals did 400 million.
Was that the lowest grossing one?
I think so.
Mm.
Of all the series.
Right.
No. The Incredible Hulk was the lowest.
Yeah, that was
The
that
Incredible
was pre
pretty early
pre
on.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
Iron Man only did 585 million.
Yeah. Look at the time period though. That was a huge
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
That probably had a budget of like $100 million. So, making
140 million.
making almost 5 times your budget is acceptable.
Yeah.
The problem is the budgets go up with every movie, and the more higher your budget goes, the lower your profits are going to be.
I will say that like with recent releases though, The nice thing is that you're seeing the exclusion of the Chinese market not
not hurting
for
it
not
as much.
hurting
Yeah,
box office draws.
which is
Be,
good.
yeah, because there for a long time it's like uh, you had to do certain things to make it into the Chinese market,
Yeah,
and now it's nice to say, look, if you don't want our movies, fuck you. You know
right,
we don't need your to be in your market to be
right.
successful.
Yeah, we
Um,
want to be in your market, but you don't get to dictate what we
yeah,
make.
because without the Chinese market, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever did $840 million,
Right,
which is pretty damn good.
right.
Um,
And to be fair, that's a huge success even post pandemic, because
oh,
people,
absolutely.
not everybody is still comfortable going back to the theaters, and
The
that's
first,
that's been proven time and time again, even with successful films. So,
yeah. Oh, and I was wrong as far as like box office draws.
mm.
The lowest, well, the second lowest, the lowest, of course, is Incredible Hulk. Second lowest is Black Widow, but that was like
But
during that was.
that
It's
was
kind of hard to look at that because that was
right,
during like the pandemic that was
right.
released.
And it was released on Disney Plus at the same time it was released in theaters. So if you had Disney Plus, you were already paying for it, and you probably already watched it on Disney Plus,
Yeah,
which is what
was
I
it
did.
released at the same time?
Yeah, I believe it was same day
I went.
release
That
on
was
that.
that was the first movie I went back to the theater and saw.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
No, I watched it on Disney Plus, and I want to say it was same day release. Now,
but
in
that
some cases, same day to release doesn't necessarily hurt anything, but that was one of the first movies to do it.
yeah, they did 380 million, which is still pretty damn good.
Right. Yeah, and I
But they
guess
had a
the
$200
success
million
stories.
budget. You know.
Yeah, and the success story that I'm thinking of is Halloween Kills. But it only had a $20 million budget, and it did
Yeah,
180 million in the theaters
yeah,
with same day release on Peacock. So
yeah. And Peacock is kind of a strange thing, at least here in the U.S., because if you have Comcast, you get Peacock for free.
you get the basic package of Peacock. It's not in the basic package you couldn't have watched Halloween Kills. You had to have the
Yeah,
premium
because I have
package.
it. I have Peacock
When Halloween Kills,
through,
you had to have the premium version to watch
which
it.
I have because I have Comcast. If you have Comcast, you get Peacock Premium for free.
Really, I thought it was just the
Yes.
basic version.
No. Anyone can have the basic Peacock for free.
Or maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. If you have Comcast, so anyone in the US that has Comcast gets Peacock Premium for free.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
a lot of people have access to it, but
Right. But it's
you know,
amazing then that, you know, well, Peacock paid to have Halloween as a first day. So
yes.
so Halloween was already, probably not in the black, but it was already on its way to being in the black. But it still made 140 in the box office. So
Yeah.
on a $20 million budget, or
Yeah.
120 million. So it was over 100 million regardless.
If you look at like just kind of go back to MCU kind of to wrap it all up. If you look at just like reviews, which I've said for a long time, I don't really pay that much attention to reviews because for the most part, they're just fucking wrong. But
Right.
well, because like a lot of reviewers are slanted one way or the other, and there's like backdoor deals to have positive
Yeah.
reviews or negative reviews. Uh, there's a lot of shady shit that goes on with reviews that a
Right.
lot of people don't know about.
Right.
And
Well, not only that,
that's not
even
just movie reviews. That's music reviews and all everything. But anyway, like if you look at overall reviews, just on like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, over the course of the MCU, through all 5 phases, I guess 4 phases is what they've got on here. Like the numbers have progressively gotten worse. Like each phase, there hasn't been a steep decline, but there's been a steady decline over the course of 20 plus movies. Even like I was trying to look and see Black Panther 1 was at 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. Black Panther 2, which I thought was equally as good, I thought it was a fantastic movie, got an 84%.
Mm.
Doctor Strange, the second Doctor Strange movie, is at a 74%. The only one in phase 4 that has a really good rating is Shang-Chi at 91%, and then Spider-Man No Way From Home, No Way Home from at 93%. So
No, these are these critic numbers or audience numbers?
both. It's
Oh,
an
combined.
aggregate on Rotten
Okay,
Tomatoes.
gotcha. Okay.
Um, so I think if you look at is post track is just reviewers, correct? I think it is. Whereas like Rotten Tomatoes is like an aggregate of all of it.
Well, they have two numbers. When you go on a movie's page, they'll have the critic score and then the
Yeah,
audience score.
that's on
So,
Rotten Tomatoes. I'm talking just on post track though.
I don't. I'm not familiar with post track.
I think post track is just
It averages everything out.
is just like actual movie reviewers.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And those numbers are even like they gave No Way Home a 96%. Uh Black Panther 2 a 93%. So
Okay.
and those were the two highest ones from phase 4. But you've seen like a lot of them now are like in the 70 and 80% range.
Right.
So I think you're seeing less interest overall in those movies. So
Which is bound to happen. It almost becomes, it's like any other franchise that's out. The interest is going to wane when there's nothing out. The second something comes out, the what will make the difference is how people react to that particular movie in the franchise.
Yeah.
So so say they release a movie, we'll just use Black Widow as an example. Black Widow comes out, it's not, it was kind of an unnecessary movie, even though I really enjoyed it. It comes out, not the interest, okay, it's there, but people are like, okay, well, I'll see it. It makes some money. You're not going to hear a lot of interest going forward until the next movie comes out. And if that one's really good, interest booms again. So
I think what made the interest and what made Black Widow important was the introduction of her sister.
Right. And that really is the only thing. Well, I guess and the dad character too. I can't remember his name now.
It's really White Widow is the only thing that.
Well, no, because he's the dad is in Thunderbolts as well.
Yeah.
So
we'll see how that goes.
Whatever. I can't remember what was his name. What was his character's name?
He wasn't the dad. He was just but he
was like their dad figure.
Yeah.
But he had a superhero name.
Yeah, I don't remember who he plays, but yeah, it's. But like I said, it's at a crowd. We'll see what happens at the end of this phase, but I guess we can kind of leave it there because that's like you said, it's kind of up in the air.
Interest is going to wane, all depending on whatever is fresh out there at the moment. Because that's what the public is always going to be interested in, is what's new now. Even though none of it's new, it's just what's out now, I guess.
But if you're watching this on YouTube, drop a comment down below. Let us know what you guys think. Do you think MCU is kind of over and done with, or is it just kind of, some people out there think it's just kind of getting started, and like the move away from those original Avenger characters is going to free up the MCU to do some really cool and interesting things down the road, which it might.
Let me say this though, because this is the first episode we've done that is like fanboy or genre specific. If keep your, if you're gonna be negative, don't bother. Just
whatever. I enjoy the negative comments sometimes.
Be negative, but don't be negative towards other people who have their own opinions as well, because everyone is entitled to their own opinion. It doesn't have to be right. I would say all of our opinions are wrong to somebody. You don't have to be dicks about it. So just because I see so much of that out there.
Oh yeah.
You can have your opinion, you can express your opinion, just don't be a dick.
Yeah. So. But any questions or comments, you can email us at entnowpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook. Of course, follow us on any your podcatcher that you use, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. I guess that's about it, man. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the rain.